Hello, hello, Aderson Oliveira here for the DNN Store this time. We are starting a new initiative with Beth Fireball from the DNN Store, and I'll be interviewing, I'll be profiling some of the sellers, some of the vendors of the DNN Store. And the first one that we have here is Bogdan Litescu from DNNSharp. Bogdan, thank you very much to be here with us.
Hi, Aderson, and thank you for having me. It's a great opportunity to be the first one in this series of interview.
Very good, very good. Bogdan, DNNSharp is one of the top sellers of the DNN Store, and I want to start this interview with some feedback that I get from a user. His name is Steve Roth. I got this feedback about, it was back in October 2011. That was the first time that I came across a Bogdan's name, and this is the feedback that I got from DNN Hero. It's nothing on the DNN Store, but that was in DNNHero.com. I'm a developer with 6 years of DNN experience building apps. One module that I have no vested interest in at all, other than as a user, but I believe is one of the most valuable third-party modules I have ever come across, and it's called My Tokens. Not only it's an amazing module, but the company has one of the best services that I have come across. And then he provided Bogdan's name. So again, that was back in 2011. That was the first time that I've heard of DNNSharp, or at least that I have paid attention to DNNSharp. It was via that My Tokens module. So again, great feedback. It really got me interested, and that's when I started to, bounce some emails back and forth with Bogdan. So a few years ago. So Bogdan, this is not about me, this is about you. So give us a little bit about, talk a little bit about your background and how you first got involved with DNN. Go for it.
So I started early with computer stuff, doing programming, and my background is actually as a C++ software developer. And that's what I did, I think, 8 years ago, 10 years ago. That's what I was doing. I was working for antivirus companies in Bucharest, Bitdefender, actually. And then I just started doing freelancing projects, and just started doing some projects on DNN. And then I've learned DNN, and then I said, why not just build a module in DNN, throw it on the store, and things. I think it was natural. I didn't look for this market. It just happened, and I think that's the case with probably a lot of people in the DNN community.
And when was that again?
This happened, I think, 7 years ago. Yeah, 7 years ago.
7 years ago. Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
So
and then. Yeah,
go ahead, please.
And then I started just throwing some extensions on the marketplace, on the Snow Covered, was called at that time. But I mean, it wasn't a big market, and it wasn't the main source of income. It was just something to be proud of, that we have some products, that I had some products because I was alone at that time. And then we just starting seeing the potential of these extensions, and also they drive new projects to us, new custom projects. So it was a very good point to attract new clients, to find new clients. So we just released new products, and I think starting 3 years ago, we just can make a living exclusively based on module development.
Got it.
So I think we are one of the few that can say this, one of the few companies in DNN that can say this.
Perfect. Okay, so yeah, you covered a few points that I was about to ask you. So in terms of the modules that you have put out there, again, I see over 20 modules, between modules and extensions that you have. I was just checking that recently. Have you seen any particular interesting implementation of those modules? I mean, have you seen any site that did, okay, I was not expecting that they would be doing that with our modules. Have you seen anything like that before?
As in terms of how well they perform in the marketplace, or what do you mean?
No, actually, let's say someone buys a module from you and they do a nice implementation. I mean, they put out on the website, they do something that you were not expecting too much. Have you seen anything like that?
Yes, and actually Steve Roth has done some great things with my tokens, and I've seen some other guys that have built entire systems using my tokens, and maybe Action Form and Action Grid. They build entire system like with managed screen, with lead captures, with email, internal messaging systems, so very complex systems. So I was very impressed. Yeah.
Perfect. I would love to have those links so I can post on the post as well. So I'll get that from you later on. But let me keep going here. So when you're developing new modules and coming up with new ideas, what kind of user do you have in mind? I mean, is that more a beginner user? Is that more a tech-savvy user? I mean, what kind of user do you have in mind usually?
Well, the first thing we want when you install the module that is easy for any user to use. Like we have in some of our modules, you just drop, select a contact form, and you have a contact form with 2 clicks in Action Form. But our real target audience is power users, because the real power in our modules is that they wire together, and you can make queries, you can make web services to make a whole application. So you are in charge of tying everything together. And our users are mostly developers, so they know they know some XSL, they know some SQL, they know some web service stuff. Perfect. So they can do these applications.
Actually, that's interesting, because usually when I do module reviews and I touch on your modules, I usually say, you know what, this is a great module, but you may have to be a little bit tech savvy to be able to use it fully. So, but again, there are some good ones, there are some plug and play ones as well. So again, great point that you made there. Now, I'm not talking about new products here. I'm talking about new features of existing products. When you come up to the next release of a module, how do you know which features you need to include on that release? I mean, how do you come about, listing those features that you want to release on that new version?
Well, it's simple. I think most of the new features are sponsored or a very popular feature requests. So we have on our forum, I don't know if you checked our forums, people come there. We have quite a big community of a community. People comment there, and they have a vote button, and they start voting on features. And when we implement something, we always look at that votes. But most of the development is sponsored anyway. So
got it. Okay, so if you're supposed to tell a potential customer of why they should choose DNNSharp's modules. Because there are a lot of variety out there in the ecosystem. I mean, if I just look at the action forms, if you see the top 3 sellers of modules, I mean, the very first one is your competitor, and then you are there as well. So why they should choose, your modules, yourself, as their provider, why?
Okay. Well, the first thing is that we have more than one module. So when you build a website, you need more than one modules. And if you buy from 3 providers, you're going to have problems with support with getting the integrations. So if you buy from the same provider, which also has a reputation for giving good support, then you already have an advantage.
Got it.
And then we also have this architecture where our modules can be easily extended without needing the source code. So you can make new controls, new actions, plug them into Action Form, for example, and as a C# developer, for example, you can easily extend Action Form to build more than comes out of the box. And that's why when you said that you saw that we have modules and we have extensions, that's what those extensions are about. They are separate pieces of code that we mainly built to show others that it's possible to plug new functionality into Action Form and other of our modules that support actions.
Perfect. Okay. So if I were to ask you to pick 1 or 2 providers out there, of sellers out there, not DNNSharp though, but if I was supposed to ask you, okay, Bogdan, which sellers out there, which companies out there in the DNN ecosystem do you admire? Do you like their products? Do you look what they are doing closely so you can maybe try to do something better? I mean, which companies do you look closely in the DNN ecosystem?
First of all, I think we tried the easy DNN modules because we don't have a lot of overlap. So we always need their functionality, some of their functionality, like we use their blog modules and things like that.
Got it. Okay.
For other things, for example, I am a tech developer, and I've always looked at how other companies like Data Springs or Mandips, they always been top rated. I always looked at them, how they do their sales and marketing, because that's not my best suite.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think that's the ones.
Perfect. So again, as we're talking about the DNN ecosystem and the DNN Store ecosystem more precisely, do you see any untapped areas that do you think that it's not well covered there from the existing modules or skins? I mean, do you see any potential growth opportunity in some untapped areas in terms of modules and extension? Do you see anything like that?
Yes. So actually, if you've been connected to our community and the events that we've done in the last few months, we're preparing a big release. It's called Sharp Look, and it's actually something like a skinning engine, but it's much more like we planned. Our ultimate goal is to replace the entire DNN UI with something that is lighter and touch-friendly and cleaner. So I think we release that in a few weeks, at least, first version. Yeah. So I think from the feedback that we got from, for example, from DNN Connect, where we presented this, and from other of our customers, it's a huge pain to create a nice UI in DNN today.
Got it. I've actually experimented a little bit of that module myself, and yeah, I mean, you have something out there. I love what you're doing there with that particular initiative. So let's talk a little bit about advice. I would like to see what advice do you have for someone new to DNN that's just coming in, just getting to know, and they need to put up a DNN website. What kind of advice would you give them? Go for it.
Well, I'm not sure, because we don't do many websites. We mostly do applications and module development. But let's say that for a new developer that wants to do a web application,
okay,
I could give this advice to get to try our modules, and because even if they are developers, and a lot of our clients are developers, they can save a lot of times, but not having to implement the basic things like implementing a form, implementing stuff like that. They can focus on their business logic and plug into our components. So I would say that the most important piece of advice is to focus on creativity and on their business logic, and use the tools, and not necessarily our tools, but there are many out tools out there. So probably the first thing is to explore the DNN, see what others have to say for their particular needs.
Got it. Okay, perfect. Let's talk a little bit about your team and your operation, your business there, because I mean, at the beginning of the interview, you just said that at some point you just made this your living, your organization's living. So how big is your team? What kind of roles do you have in your team? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so until 3 years ago, I was mostly alone, working with various people on project base or on like that. But then that didn't work very well. I mean, it works. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. It's not predictable to work like that. So I started hiring a full-time team, and we grew. Last year we had 2 people in my team, but now we are up to 7 people in the team in Romania, all in Romania. Yeah, and I have to say that it's been very difficult. I think this has been the most difficult thing that I did to build a team, and it's been very painfully for the first year or so. But things started to really build up, and now I have a great team, and things are starting to move. And you can see, maybe these releases, you can see a lot this year, a lot of releases, a lot of new cool stuff. And part of the reason is that I have this great team building up. Yeah.
Very good. And they are mostly developers. You have designers, developers. Who is the team? Just in general,
So I think everybody out there thinks that I have a designer, but we don't have a designer. That's just the advantages of using Bootstrap, to have that nice and clean UI that looks modern, and we work with designers, but only when we need them project based. Our team mostly, in the beginning, I hired people with complementary skills, like on marketing, on sales, and then I hired on testers. We have 2 testers in our team. We have 1 marketing sales guy, and then I hired a project manager because it became too big to manage by myself. And then we started hiring developers full time.
Perfect, perfect. Okay, so again, as I mentioned also at the beginning of the interview, you are one of the top sellers of the market of the DNN store. What does that mean for you? I mean, in terms of, let's say, if we pick, you know, Action 4, how many units do you have to sell in a month to be in the top, you know, in the top 3 as you are right now? I mean, can you give us an idea of that? Just out of curiosity, I would say.
I don't know if I can tell you exactly. I'm not even handling the sales. But I think maybe we also have licenses that are from $99 US to $1,000 US if you want developer source code. Yeah, so it's very difficult to say. Yeah.
Got it. Okay, okay. I got your point. I got your point.
Yeah, okay.
You want some privacy there. Okay, I'll let you go on that. I want to talk a little bit about future, you know. What are some of the important trends on a website development and design that you see going on, that you see more and more important to incorporate into your products, into your services? I mean, can you give us a little bit of that kind of information that you see going on right now?
Well, for what we started doing 1 or 2 years ago, we started incorporating Bootstrap. We started incorporating AngularJS. So we have a lot of client-side code that runs. And we also have been integrating touch design for the last year. So if you notice, our products all are spacious. You have big buttons, so you can. I actually have a laptop with a touch screen, and for 99%, I can just use the touch screen to manage our modules.
Got it. Yeah, perfect. Okay. And another point is to follow the trends, to follow what's happening out there. How do you get yourself updated? I mean, how do you come to know about those things? Is there any resource on the internet that you usually read about, that you refer to see what's trending, what is getting hot? I mean, is there anything like that you can point our audience towards?
I have to say this is not a continuous process. So it's just that sometimes I hear from a client or from I read an article. For example, how we came to AngularJS. I think 3 years ago, I read an article by somebody in DNN, how he used Knockout.js with a module. So I started exploring with Knockout.js, and in short time I arrived at AngularJS, and we've been using AngularJS ever since. So I think it's things like that I read an article, even in DNN, because there are some guys that are doing revolutionary things in DNN, bringing new technology in.
Got it. Perfect. Yeah. So again, it seems that a lot comes from within the DNN community itself. Great. Yeah. Okay, so talking about DNN in general, what would you like to see happening next on DNN? I mean, is there anything that you feel that it's lacking there, that should be improved? Or, I mean, gosh, it would be great if they would do just this or that. I mean, anything like that. I mean, what can you tell us?
I think from my point of view, because I'm rarely the end user of DNN, so I just provide value, and clients come from us for those values that doesn't already exist in the platform, so they come to us. So, but I can tell you that our biggest pain right now, in terms of what clients are asking from us, is to separate the core from the UI, because DNN is so, the core is so mangled with the UI that it was difficult for us to build this new UI on top of that, because we have to take stuff out from the core, we have to do some hacks, some workarounds. Yeah.
Got it. Okay, that makes sense.
And I see a lot of discussions, even yesterday I saw a discussion again about default.css that gets bigger and bigger, and people were joking, let's put everything in default CSS, let's put Bootstrap in default CSS.
I see. Okay, good point. I think that you mentioned that also already a little bit, but I just want to reinforce that. What's next for DNNSharp? I mean, where do you see you guys moving towards? What's your goals? What are your ambitions? how is DNNSharp in 1 or 2 years from now? I mean, how do you see things there on DNNSharp, in that time frame?
Yeah. So my vision right now about DNN is that is a niche market. It's a very good place to invest in because the community is already there, people are already trained, and it's not doing a very good job by its own. So it's still room for people to come in and fill those gaps. So what we are doing, we plan on short term to release this Sharp-Look engine that I was telling you about. And then based on that, we plan to build a DNN Lite version because that's also been a lot of people asking us for that. So once we have that engine, we can start getting some stuff out of DNN. Maybe even have, one of those DNN builders, like you go into let's say in jQuery UI, just select which components you want, and you download a customized version. So something like that I envision for a light version because you don't need the messaging, you don't need pop-ups, you don't need user login, you don't need in all sites. So you just pick up the features that you want and you download a customized version that is very light for your purpose. And that's the medium plan for our DNNSharp. And the long term is that using this, we want to build a platform, so a online platform, where we'd allow other people to come and build applications. So it will be a platform for building web application using our modules and this DNN Lite version and Sharp-Look and all the tools.
Got it. Okay, that's a lot of ambition there, but again,
really but that's a long plan.
Yeah. Perfect. Okay, Bogdan, we are just coming to an end here. Just wanted to to really thank you and ask you if you have any closing words, if there's anything that anything else that you want to mention, any final plugs that you want to make. Go ahead.
Well, I think I covered pretty much where we come from, what we are, and where we are going to. I can tell you that there are other events. For example, this week we will do an interview with the Queen City user group this Thursday. And then there will probably be other interviews. We hope to go to DNNCon event in US, but that's not decided yet. It depends if we can get Sharp-Look out and package it nicely to demo it at that event. So that would be something. And I think the best thing to find about us is to get on our forums and start following our communities and see what, because on our forums there are many kinds of people. Some people come with problems, of course, but there are a lot of people that come with ideas how they can do something, or they have an interesting question about how to achieve something. So it's very interesting to see.
Perfect. Okay, very good. I hope to see you at DNNCon. I'll be there. We might stop by and have some beer together, and talk about stuff. And so again, just thanks very much for your time. It's really a pleasure to be talking to you finally after so many interactions we had in the past. And that's it. Thanks very much, guys. Bye.
Thanks for having me. Bye.